Hey folks, it's been a little bit, but I'm finally here with a look at the Maximum Carnage Teampack. Thanks to our friends at WizKids, we're going to try to do some team building, and we've got some tough decisions ahead, because this Teampack is pretty darn glorious. Let's start alphabetically, and begin with Black Cat. 9 lives is pretty clearly the weakest of the bunch. I would have liked her a lot better if her stats were flipped. The other two, however, are our first real tough choices. Both of these are seriously messing with your opponent's dice economy, and the question is really, what does your team want to mess up more? Sidekick dice rolled, or other character rolls? On the Prep Area podcast, we went with the Possessive, and I think I'm going to go with her again. Keeping the Bloodhounds at bay, we're effectively making a side of our opponent's character dice entirely worthless, unless they can remove or blank Black Cat, which is awesome. But with Possessive, she's already done her work during your opponent's roll and reroll. And as I said before, it's a hard decision, and either of these are pretty great. Cap here gives us 1 okay card and 2 great ones to decide on based on our build. Behind you is fine removal that would be better if he had like a villain maker. Shriek is going to be widely used and carries the villain affiliation, so he's totally a valid use for that. The other two carry the global, pay a shield, and an energy to field a sidekick. While not as powerful as Star Labs Global, it makes up for that with a touch more flexibility since you only really need one specific energy type. Let's also remember this Global does not work on allies since they only count as sidekicks in the field. How About a Hand Sun makes your sidekicks nice and hard-hitting, which is pretty good, but I actually like Squad Leader a tad better when paired with Spider-Man, who we're going to use in this build. We all know how great Deadly can be. The only drawback is they wouldn't have Deadly during our turn for blocking purposes. Now, Carnage. The copying another character's win attacks and win KO'd abilities is pretty great, but he only has 2 win attacks abilities to copy from our potential team pieces here, and no KO'd abilities. So there's nothing in this set with a KO'd ability. Outside of the team, though, it is kind of funny. You could have Carnage copy Alfred MI5's KO ability and make him really hard to get rid of. So there's tons of potential here, just not within this own set. Thankfully, Unfinished Business is also pretty awesome. He's like an Oracle on steroids. It only works on your turn, but your opponent's having to pay 3 to use a Blank Transmutation or a Taunt Global, or in Golden Age 3 to use Xavier's Global. That's really wonderful. This is just going to be a really fantastic option for the quickly emerging Bolt Control. The hard choices continue with Doppelganger. Predator straight up gives us a solid non-villain removal, as long as we can target the character. 6 Arms is excellent sidekick removal, and if you've got Cap's Global going, your opponent is likely to be using that, so that is a source of damage. But as I said on the Pip Area podcast, Living Arms is still my favorite here. We're immediately taking any sidekick your opponent rolls, not giving them an opportunity to reroll it, and totally sabotaging their economy. That's really strong. Now, I love me some Iron Fist. The Defender's Pack one, pulling punches, is still really fantastic, but I'm happy to see him back as a fist character. And Rolling Thunder Cannon Punch is another good source of removal. At once during your own turn, just nuke something. And Let the Silent Speak couples the nuking with his attack, but is limited to the attack damage. My favorite, though, is Sensei. He gets the attack bonus when he attacks, and then you can dump the fist energy into something like Too Big to Fly, and so 3 fists turns into +6 attack on an Iron Fist die. That's really strong, especially if you throw like Proton Cannon on him. And he has a fist, so he wouldn't be knocked out by it. So going to get off the alphabetical list here and jump ahead to Venom. My other's condition of having less life than your opponent makes him kind of weak. The other two take control of an opponent's character, and I generally think Corruptor is going to be the most useful since you'll always be able to at least take control of a sidekick. There's also a few basic actions we could use to spin down opposing characters. Lethal Protector might be better if there was a cheap villain maker, but currently we don't have one in Modern. So Venom is really the only character in this set that I'm not super excited about. Now Spider-Man, he's going to be our win condition. Staying true just prevents damage to itself, and a better way, we've had stuff like this before, and they're always fine, but generally aren't game changers. But War of the Heart, though, he's basically our new Spider Bomb. If we field Cap to give our sidekicks Deadly, And we've been fielding sidekicks with his global ability. And we have Spidey. We can just attack with Spidey, Cap, and all of our sidekicks. The sidekicks won't take any damage, have deadly, and must be blocked before Spidey, Cap, and whoever else you attacked with. It's a few moving parts, but you can have Spidey sit back and wait for the right timing to maximize his effectiveness. Also, Cap and Spidey would both work on allies, so this is a pretty good little bit of synergy. Okay, I saved the All-Star card for last. All three versions of Shriek are pretty fantastic. Which one you use just depends on your needs. Sundra Deal protects you from Blink Transmutations Global, so you can get in for some much-needed damage, but the other two outclass her slightly in most builds. Described as Prismatic Spray on legs, Dark Empathy is exactly that. When she's fielded, all your opponent's characters are blanked. Raven and Oracle giving you issues? Boom, blanked. Lastly, we've got Sonic Beam, which is likely to be the most popular. Functionally the same as the Rare Dwarf Wizard from D&D Faerun Under Siege, the difference being D-Wiz blanks dice, she blanks the card. D-Wiz, the die has to be in the field. Shriek doesn't have that limitation, so you can blank a character's card before your opponent even buys it. She's going to be the most versatile option, and what we'll go with this time. We also need another cheap buy, and her 3 cost is super appealing. This will be another piece for Bolt Control, and don't be surprised if you see people rolling with both Shriek and D-Wiz. And there we go, we've got a team. It doesn't quite have the same synergy as we saw with the Defender set, which, being a fan of tribal teams, I really adored that team pack. But Maximum Carnage for a pack of general utility is just amazing. There are so many super viable pieces in here, it's kind of crazy. There's just some huge bang for your buck, especially when you have Shriek, who is functionally better than a huge meta staple like Dwarf Wizard, who routinely goes for $10 plus in the secondary market. As much as I love the Defenders pack, this is by far the best team pack we've seen, and an absolute must own.